Welcome, friends, to our Taste of Spiritual Direction. My name is Laura Leese, and I will be your host this evening. And we're thrilled you're here, whether you're here live or listening to the recording. We have this wonderful group of spiritual directors who are joining us from across the country here in the United States. We are recording this call. We are also providing a handout. The document we're about to walk through is a PowerPoint, is available to you for a download. My colleague Monica will be including a lot of great information in the chat box. So if you're listening to this live on a computer or a tablet, you can download that document that I trust she is loading up that information right now. But whether you get the document or not, it's fine. We will be recording the call. All of the information we're sharing today will be available for download when we send you a copy of everything. I'm planning on next week, Tuesday, to be sending that out. So stay tuned. Really, we want you to just receive this evening and to enjoy this time of contemplative experience. And I just want to offer up, there is, of course, so much going on in the world today. And I believe that it would be our collective heart as spiritual directors that we could offer up this evening on behalf of those of us across the world who are in some form suffering, which would include probably pretty much everyone right now, as we are speaking here in the middle of September in the year 2020. And so as we often wonder, what is mine to do? What's the invitation from the sacred that I can somehow help with what's going on in globally as well as right here in my own world? And so we as spiritual directors are sensing the call to provide some form of support to others. You will be hearing from a number of spiritual directors, a few who are just getting their own private practice in spiritual direction off the ground, as well as one more seasoned spiritual director. So what I'd like to do is move right into our first contemplative experience, and my colleague is going to forward the slides to our first guest speaker. Please, I want to introduce you to my friend Zanny Johnson. And there we go, lovely photo. And Zanny is going to unmute and open up her camera so we can see her lovely face and hear from her. And she's going to guide us through a contemplative experience tonight. You might have heard of Lectio Divina, and you might also be familiar with this amazing spiritual director, really in recent times, named Henry Nouwen. Zanny, are you there, my friend?
I am here.
Perfect. Over to you.
Alrighty. Thank you, Laura. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined us this evening. Again, my name is Zanny Johnson, and I live in Stillwater, Minnesota, with 3 grown daughters that are rotating in and out of our house with the pandemic, and my husband of 30 years. I'm a graduate of Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, and a proud graduate of Hezekiah School of Spiritual Direction in Tucson, Arizona. I really do feel called to this beautiful and ancient practice of spiritual direction. And before I begin our guided Lectio tonight, let's take a moment to get centered before this brief spiritual practice. This evening, I'm going to lead you in a brief centering exercise before the Lectio. And tonight, I'll read the Lectio passage just 2 times. So right now, I invite you to put down whatever you have in your hands, and I invite you to close your eyes and make yourself comfortable in your seat. Place both feet on the floor, if that works for you, connecting with the earth. Let your hips be supported at the back of your seat. Let your shoulders be over your hips and your head resting comfortably on your shoulders. Let your hands lay easily on your lap and take a moment to get comfortable. I invite you to notice your breathing. Are you breathing quickly? Are you breathing slowly? Are you holding your breath? Simply notice without judging. Now take a deep breath, filling your lungs. Letting your diaphragm expand. Take a deep breath and hold it. Then exhale through your throat and out your nose. Now take 3 or 4 breaths in your own rhythm. And as you breathe in, let the Spirit of God fill you. God's Spirit is as close as our very breath. And as you breathe out, offer to God all that claims your attention, trusting God will give back to you what is necessary. Now we will begin Lectio Divina. The reading this evening is a love letter to you from God. And if there's a word or a phrase from the reading tonight that shimmers for you, accept it as a gift from God. Jesus says to you, I've called you by name from the very beginning. You are mine and I am yours. You are my beloved. On you my favor rests. I have molded you in the depths of the earth and knitted you together in your mother's womb. I've carved you in the palms of my hands and hidden you in the shadow of my embrace. I look at you with infinite tenderness and care for you with a care more intimate than that of a mother for her child. I've counted every hair on your head and guided you at every step. Wherever you go, I go with you, and wherever you rest, I keep watch. I will give you food that will satisfy all your hunger and drink that will quench all your thirst. I will not hide my face from you. You know me as your own, and I know you as my own. You belong to me. I am your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your love, and your spouse. Yes, even your child. Wherever you are, I will be. Nothing will ever separate us. We are one. Jesus says to you, I've called you by name from the very beginning. You are mine and I am yours. You are my beloved. On you my favor rests. I've molded you in the depths of the earth and knitted you together in your mother's womb. I've carved you in the palms of my hands and hidden you in the shadow of my embrace. I look at you with infinite tenderness and care for you with a care more intimate than that of a mother for her child. I've counted every hair on your head and guided you at every step. Wherever you go, I go with you, and wherever you rest, I keep watch. I will give you food that will satisfy all your hunger and drink that will quench all your thirst. I will not hide my face from you. You know me as your own, and I know you as my own. You belong to me. I am your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your love, and your spouse. Yes, even your child. Wherever you are, I will be. Nothing will ever separate us. We are one.
Amen.
Amen.
Zanny, thank you. I just want to go away now in a quiet space. So, friends, we're doing a taste tonight, a sampling for your consideration. I would love for you to know more about Henry now, and if you don't know. So we're going to have all kinds of extra goodies we're going to be including for you to explore further. So thank you for meeting my friend Zanny Johnson. Again, all her contact information is available. I encourage you to go to all the websites of all of our speakers tonight. There is just this wealth. A colleague of mine called it a buffet. There's so much good material out there, and we're going to help get to know some of that. So again, Zanny, thank you, my friend. I'd like to introduce you now to my new friend, Shannon, and she is going to go ahead and unmute and open her video. And Shannon has yet another spiritual practice for us here tonight. and she also has her website and her email address available. So Shannon, my friend, can you unmute and open your video?
Okay, can you hear me and see me, Laura?
Perfect, my friend.
Okay. All
Over
right.
to you.
Great. Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Zany. That was amazing. Normally at the beginning of a practice, I would do exactly that. I would take a minute and let you settle yourself. So Zany did such a beautiful job, but we'll just jump right in. I've selected a practice tonight that's been very meaningful to me and to a number of clients that I've worked with over the years. And so I wanted to share it with you. It's called Holy Exchanges. Settle yourself for a moment and perhaps close your eyes and become aware of self. Intentionally let go of the day, any worries, any concerns. Imagine yourself, or actually do it, brushing the concerns of the day off of your shoulders. Begin to listen to your own desires as I read this prayer over you. God of the silence, calm and quiet my soul at the fount of your loving presence. In your silence, replenish me with a force for love, especially for those who are the most demanding. When there is nowhere else to go, inspire me to drop into my heart and find your life-giving grace there, weaving the fabric of human reality into a tapestry of love. I wonder when you drop into your heart this evening what you find there. If you're like me, sometimes I discover things there that I would like to change or I wish that weren't there. I remind you that we serve a God who makes holy exchanges. Beauty for ashes, a garment of praise for a spirit of despair, the oil of gladness for mourning. He is also able to turn your fear to courage, your humiliation to favor, anger to patience, sorrow to joy, anxiety to confidence, worry to peace, cynicism to optimism, bitterness into gratitude, jealousy into acceptance, and lack into abundance. So if you'd like to make a holy exchange, I invite you to close your eyes and imagine the living God, however he looks for you. I meet with a young man who meets with the living God on the beach in a lounge chair. I have another lady who always meets with God on a cotton candy cloud. So there is no right or wrong. Go to the place that is most comfortable for you to dialogue with the sacred. Now imagine yourself handing him whatever it is that you wish to exchange. And imagine yourself receiving something better from God. Simply ask him, God, what do you have in exchange for me? Let's take a moment and listen. I will close by reading this prayer as a blessing and benediction over your discoveries. God of the instead, create in me a place for a new beginning, where I leave behind regret, disappointment, heartbreak, and failure. Give me a heart that can perceive the new thing that you are doing. I exchange the view of my past performance and weakness for your abundant strength, rest, and peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Shannon. What a gift. Such gift tonight, friends. So as we segue into our third speaker tonight, I am to remind us all that if you have a question or a comment that you want to pose to us, please feel free to put that in either the chat box or the Q&A box. And our colleague Monica is monitoring that throughout the call, the webinar. And we'll be sure to attend to those that the panelists would need to respond to by the end of our call tonight. And so Monica's going to move us to the next slide. And this is so much. This is so good. So Shirley, so thrilled to have you on the call tonight. So if you can go ahead and unmute and open your video and introduce yourself and take us into the next practice.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to be here. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Shirley Van Dam, a spiritual director and pastoral counselor. I've worked in hospice for many years. And part of my challenge in spiritual direction is to expand even the definition of spiritual. Not everybody believes in a God. So spirituality has to be bigger than our definitions. And that's what I hope to do. I grew up on a farm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. My first conscious spiritual experience was when I was standing in the creek that was near our home. I looked upstream and I saw the water coming, and I looked downstream past where my feet were standing, and I saw the water going somewhere. I didn't exactly know where, and I didn't know how far it was going, but in that moment, I was standing and I was part of that creek. I was there. I was part of it. Wherever that water was going to go after it touched my feet, it was going to bring a part of me with it. That was an awesome experience that the divine gave me. And that's what I think we need to be aware of in our lives when we have those experiences of ultimate connection. This spiritual practice is one I've been using for over 25 years. I learned it from the American Book of Living and Dying, Lessons in Healing Spiritual Pain by Richard Groves and Henrietta Ann Closser. There's 4 aspects of spirituality: meaning, connection, hope, and forgiveness. I'm going to guide you in a meditation, and you can pay attention to what rises to the surface for you. We're not going to do all 4. There's not time for that, but you'll get a taste of how it works. There's no right and wrong answers, no judgments involved. It's about your own self-discovery. The answers change. Some days you might be strong in one area and weak in another. We're going to take a moment to reflect on life as it is in this moment, on this day. I'll pause after the questions and you can listen to what's within you. Take a minute now, kind of be comfortable in your chair. Close your eyes if you want to, or you can leave your eyes open if you want and just focus on one object. Pay attention to your breathing. It doesn't have to change at all, just pay attention. You go within yourself to that place where there is no judgment, that place where all manner of things is well. One aspect of spirituality is hope. What do you hope for? Do you trust that tomorrow can be better than today? Another aspect of spirituality is meaning. What got you out of bed this morning? What gives your life meaning today? Another aspect of spirituality is connection or relatedness. Who are you most connected to? What is the part of you that you relate to most? As we conclude this spiritual practice, be aware of where you are now and know that this is within you and you can return whenever you want. Pay attention. Be aware of how you're sitting or standing. Open your eyes when you're ready. Come back to this physical dimension. This practice can be done in your journal. It can be done on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. It can be done with a friend, with your spiritual director, or all by yourself with your maker. Thank you.
Amen. Shirley, thank you, friend. So beautiful. Friends, this is beautiful. So much gift. I'm so grateful for tonight. We're going to move into our next contemplative experience on discernment. Many people come to spiritual direction when they're discerning something, usually kind of a big thing. I feel like we're always discerning, but in particular, if you're discerning perhaps a move or a job change, and people often will start in spiritual direction when they're just beginning that process. So I want to invite my friend Diane Cameron to unmute and open her video. And as she's doing that, a reminder, friends, if you have a comment or question, please feel free to put that in the chat or the Q&A box. Diane, are you there, friend?
I am here.
Perfect.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Over to
Laura.
you.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Spiritual Buffet. And if you are here, you are definitely a seeker, as we all are. I am a spiritual director and also a retreat leader. I trained in Baltimore, and I also trained in Albany, New York, at St. Bernard's. And in my spiritual direction practice, I have a couple of unique specialties. I work with people from all different faith backgrounds, but I found over time that a number of people who are attracted to come and work identify as agnostic or atheist. And yes, I was a little bit surprised in the beginning too, but it turns out, of course, that you don't need to believe in God to want to deepen your spiritual life. I also work with people who are in addiction recovery, 12-step recovery, and who identify with those practices. And as a woman in long-term recovery myself, I speak that language and can direct spiritual direction within the 12-step concepts. And what I'd like to share with you tonight is a contemplative way of approaching discernment. And as Laura said, we are making decisions all the time in our lives, and very often it is a big choice that may bring someone initially to spiritual direction. What will they do? What should they do? And every day in our life we use practical methods like making the list of pro and con, or doing a lot of research. We do discernment by Google, very often. But here are the steps to do this discernment as a contemplative practice, or in a contemplative way. The first step is to frame the question. And that turns out to be a very important step, because are we asking the right question? Are we, as we seek a decision, how do we frame that? And we want to spend a little bit of time on that. Should I apply for that job, go back to graduate school, move to this city or that city? Should I leave this relationship? Those are biggies, right, that we want guidance on. Then we take that question, just as it's stated, we take it to some prayer. And I like to say that we take it to prayer with a light hand, not with begging and pleading. I am very familiar with begging and pleading prayer. I've done plenty of that and continue to here and there. But this isn't the God, please show me skywriting. Please show me the envelope with my name on it. But saying, here it is. Do you have something for me? Then we move to the contemplative part, which is visualization and using imagination. And some of these steps come out of St. Ignatius' discernment practice. And one of the pieces that comes from him is the live as if practice. So let's say we are trying to decide between two cities. City A is Baltimore, city B is Boston. We don't know which one to go to. Maybe there's a job opportunity in each of them, or maybe we have loved ones in each of those cities. How are we going to do this? And what we take from the Ignatian discernment process is the live as if. For the first maybe couple of weeks, if we have that time, we live as if A is absolutely true, decision made, settled, we're going to Baltimore. Just absolutely end the debate in our heads. And we live for those weeks in our imagination, in our feeling sense, including our body feeling sense. We're going to Baltimore. What will it look like when I leave my house in the morning in Baltimore? What will my commute be like? Where will I be going out to dinner? Who will I be seeing? Where's the public library? Do I use public transportation? What is that felt experience of choice A? And we pay attention to excitement, the little peaks of that sounds like fun, but we especially pay attention to our body because we know our body plays a huge role in spirituality. Our body, we now know from neurological research, our body knows so many things long before our head thinks it figured it out. So we always want to pay attention to that. And then we make note of that, what came up. Then we take A, we set it aside, and now we're going to go live in Boston. That's choice B. And the same thing, you know, we're going to the harbor and we're walking around the paths of downtown, Old Town in Boston. And we're going for seafood, absolutely. Well, we can go to seafood in both cities, so that's a tough one. But we have that very felt, lived, detailed experience. What am I wearing in this city? What new clothes might I need? I'm going to need warmer boots there than in Baltimore. And again, we pay attention to our body. We pay attention to what's moving through us. We do this as a contemplative practice, unlike other versions of the Ignatian practice, where we might be doing a lot of research and talking to everybody and calling up the friends in those cities. In this way, we're holding this process close to our soul, close to our heart. And then afterwards, we journal about this. What did we notice? What did we see? And another important thing, what came to us in our dreams? Doing this kind of work over a period of time, we're going to have dreams. And all faith traditions include dreams as spiritual messengers, as spiritual practices, as spiritual discernment. So we want to pay attention to our dreams in that. The other prayer that we're praying through this time is, show me where I am. Not show me the decision, but show me where I am inside in this practice. And letting that's a direct invitation to God or higher power or our psyche to say, come in here. And what we're seeking there is a sense of affirmation, a sense of rightness. And again, not happiness, but rightness. And we do this over a period of time, a couple of weeks maybe for each side of that, each choice. And we need to do it over a period of time because I think we all know a decision might seem just terrific on one day, but that could be influenced by a beautiful day or a great lunch. And similarly, something that feels like a no or that's bad could be influenced by a bad night's sleep or a cranky spouse or boss, something like that. So we're looking to average this out over a period of time. Because, and this is what I want to close with tonight, what really matters is that the true fruit of discernment is peace, not happiness. Because I think we all know there are things we have to discern that have a lot of sadness. Should I leave this relationship? Should I end that friendship? The rightness may be, yes, it is time to leave. It is time to end that. And that will have a sad feeling. But if it is accompanied by peace, we know that we are moving in the correct direction and that we have true spiritual guidance in doing that. So we're looking for the quality of peace. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Amen. That is a beautiful concept, peace. Thank you so much, Diane. We are going to move to our final contemplative practice with my friend Teresa Blythe. And after she shares, we'll have time for some questions. I've already just posed one to my panelist colleagues, so we encourage you to stick around for some more lively conversation. So Teresa, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Laura. And thanks all of you for tuning into this. I'm so glad you're with us. My name is Teresa Blythe. I'm an ordained United Church of Christ minister, ordained to the ministry of spiritual direction, and have been doing full-time spiritual direction for a long time. I've been a spiritual director since I entered the internship phase of my training program at San Francisco Theological Seminary, and that's been 23 years. And I love the work. Talking about spiritual direction is one of my favorite things to do. So much so that I have taught in training programs for 20 years, and 14 of those I was the director of the Hezekiah School of Spiritual Direction in Tucson, the one that Zanny made reference to. Now I work one-on-one with people who want to become spiritual directors. I have an apprentice training program that I'm very excited about. I think many, if not most people who come to spiritual direction for assistance are seeking spiritual freedom. And that's really important for discernment too. By that I mean they're looking for an adult relationship with God, God as they understand God, one that's chosen out of freedom, and one that increases their freedom to be just as God created them to be, fully themselves. I know that's what led me to spiritual direction some 32 years ago. I had been living a fairly unfree spiritual life, afraid of a God that I'd been taught was harsh, demanding, even cruel. And I had spiritual directors experienced in deep listening, discernment, wordless prayer, dream work, meditation, and they really helped me. They helped me discover an image of God that was much more positive. They also exuded spiritual freedom, so I knew it was possible. I knew I wanted to be for other people that same kind of hope, trust, and freedom that I observed and learned from the best spiritual directors around. And so when working with clients, I always look for where they seem free and where they seem unfree. It's a great starting point. Because for those of us who are Christian, Paul's ecstatic statement that for freedom, Christ has set us free, can become a life-giving mantra. And for those who are not Christians, who are seeking or agnostic or not sure what they are, they understand internal freedom. That's a concept that you can talk about. And to promote spiritual direction, I sometimes lead workshops or presentations on what spiritual direction is about, what kind of ground we cover. And sometimes I use this guided meditation, which I'll share with you, and it's a reflection on freedom. And again, we'll start with a little bit of silence. Take a moment to reflect on the time of spiritual freedom in your life. A time when you were free from worry, addiction, abusive relationship, work, school, a time you were free in nature, perhaps. And once you identify that moment, return to it in your mind's eye and feel it. Feel it in your mind, your body, and your spirit. Feel it with your senses. See it. Hear it. Just take yourself right back there. Sink into that sense of freedom and feel the Spirit's presence right there with you. Notice what comes to your awareness and let that moment of freedom guide you into stillness. And we close by thanking the Holy One for freedom and for those moments where we discover who God is and how God relates with us. I like to use this meditation and then the time after it for reflection with groups of people who might be unfamiliar with spiritual direction. It gives them a taste of the kind of sharing people do in spiritual direction. Because the most common mystery about spiritual direction is what happens in that room. What do people talk about? How is it different from counseling, therapy, mentoring, consultations? While many people come to spiritual direction with lots to talk about, others might come if they knew that it was about freedom, deep desire, and the search for ultimate meaning in life. So I contend there's a lot more people out there who would want to be in spiritual direction if they only knew that it's about their inner life, it's about their inner freedom. This freedom meditation is one exercise that is not in my book, 50 Ways to Pray. But if you're seeking help with a variety of prayer practices, I recommend that book to you. And if you want to learn more about spiritual direction, either because you're curious about finding a spiritual director or you want to be trained as one, then Spiritual Direction 101, which I wrote a couple of years ago, is a good guide. And you can find both of those on Amazon. Before I close, I see there's a question about the difference between spiritual direction and mentorship, and there very much is a difference. I do both, not at the same time. But mentorship is where you're teaching someone. They're a student of spiritual direction. Maybe they're in a training program and they want a little extra help, or they want to consult with someone else, someone outside their program. So it's more akin to, I want to say discipleship, but that's not quite the word, but it is a teacher-student relationship. Spiritual direction is all about the client's desires. It's whatever you want to talk about, whatever is really on your heart to talk about. And all of life is spiritual, so you can bring all of life, but we'll handle how we respond to you, how we explore with you. We'll handle that differently than a counselor or a therapist. We won't diagnose. We're not trying to fix you. We're listening for where the Spirit is showing up in your life. So that's just a little bit of how I make those distinctions between the two. Laura, I want to thank you so much for inviting all of us. It's just so great to do 5 spiritual practices in one night. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Teresa, thank you. So friends, what we'd like to do now is take a moment to open this up. If you have other questions or comments, Monica has put a link to an article I just published a couple of days ago. So how do you find a spiritual director in 2020? Life is very different now than it was in 2019. And so there's an article there, a lot of great stuff. So I encourage you to look at that. But at the same time, you have just heard from 5 spiritual directors, and you got to know them a little bit tonight. So if anyone you thought, I kind of like what she had to say, I resonated with her, please feel free to reach out to any of us. All that, again, contact information has been on the PowerPoint, and that will also be coming out to you within the coming days as well. So I wonder, friends, panelists, that question, so how does this work exactly? We did the contemplative practices, which of course are part of spiritual direction, but let's say I rang you up and we started meeting remotely probably. How does it work? Would somebody like to chime in? Shirley.
I'll chime in. I often compare it, when people go to a physical trainer, they're looking to improve their physical body. And that's kind of what it is addressed. When we go to a spiritual director, we're looking to improve or enhance our lives. The spiritual part of our life, the part that is untangible, untouchable, the part that's beyond kind of what we see every day. And it can be as different as each day is different. One of the sessions I had with my spiritual director, I was taking things very seriously. And that session, he brought me a kite, and we went and flew a kite. And that was the spiritual direction seminar for that day. We didn't talk. He wouldn't let me talk about anything. But it was just flying the kite. It was amazing.
Oh, it's beautiful, Shirley. Talk about an object lesson. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Would anyone else like to respond before we get to some of the other questions popping up?
Yeah, I'd like to respond because this is the thing that people who have never heard much about spiritual direction, when they first hear about it, they want to know. So I talk about what it looks like. It's generally one-on-one, although there is group spiritual direction as well. But if they're coming to me for spiritual direction, it would be one-on-one. And pre-pandemic, I would meet in a room, a nicely set up room that's just very private where we can talk and they don't feel like someone's looking in. And we might start with a little bit of silence so that they have a chance to center themselves or maybe think about exactly what they want to bring up or what they want to bring up first. And then I always let them know that they can break the silence. So to take as much or as little time as they need. And then they start talking about their life. And I listen and I'm kind of silently praying and find those places where I think there might be a little bit of opening to the spirit and places to explore. I think of myself as a field guide, and they're on the trail with me, and I'm just pointing things out here and there. And then after 45 minutes or so, it starts to wind down, and then we'll close. If they want, we can close with prayer. If they don't, we'll just kind of end with just saying a few words of appreciation for each other, and that's it. And if it's on Zoom, which it is now, we just work with the technology that we have. But I love the one-on-one.
Yeah, thank you.
And can I add to that? Teresa is my teacher. Of course, I'm biased. We are trained at Hezekiah and Teresa's apprentices in the evocative method of spiritual direction, which is very non-directive. And actually, I heard something kind of funny. I like to say that it's much more spiritual and much less directive. It's kind of a goofy, spiritual direction is sort of a goofy title for what it is that we do. A couple more things, it's 100% confidential. So anything that happens in spiritual direction stays in spiritual direction. And unless the person is at risk of harming himself, herself, or someone else. But it is a place to completely be free. And another beautiful phrase I learned in spiritual direction school is we have complete, okay, now I lost it, it flew out of my brain, unconditional positive regard for our directees. Unconditional positive regard. And, at the very, very least, we care about the folks that come to us. I've been seeing some people for, gosh, it's several years now. And I get goosebumps just saying those words. They're in my heart, and I pray for them. And they come and we form this bond, director, directee. It's not a peer relationship. There's definitely, a little bit of a differential. Not that I'm over them by any means, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful, unique relationship.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zanny. We have a couple other questions. I wonder if any of the panel, especially those who haven't shared since your practice, how do you decide in a spiritual direction appointment if you might use any of the contemplative practices we did tonight? Has that come up for any of you guys?
Unmute myself.
There it is. Okay. I use a variety of practices. I also generally give homework because I do find if people, especially if they're new to trying to find a spiritual life, it's interesting. It's a little bit almost the opposite. They want to know what to do. It starts with, even though we know we're about being, but sometimes people get to being from doing. Should I read a book? Should I say a prayer? What prayer should I say? And so I'm discerning as I'm listening. Is an activity going to help this person? Do they need to read a particular prayer? I'm just remembering a woman came to me. She had not been raised in any faith community. and was in fact seeking something spiritual. And her prayer, since she was a child, was the Pledge of Allegiance, because it was the only thing she had memorized. And she understood that prayers were kind of like that. They were things you memorized. And so, like, what a joy to tell her she could write a prayer, and maybe she would like to try that. Or there were other prayers, and some of her seeking was, see which one sounds good to you. So I give homework.
Great. Thanks, Diane.
I would
yeah.
like to just say one thing about the practices that we've done, and they're all wonderful practices. I generally don't use them in the spiritual direction session until I've been with the directee for quite a while and feel that it's appropriate. I don't spring it on someone in the first session. I feel it's a little directive to do that. And so when I'm going to do it, I want to make sure that it's kind of, it feels okay to me to do it, and hopefully will be spirit-led when I do that.
Yeah, I would say generally whatever the person's bringing, and they usually say, I don't really have an agenda, let's just see what comes up, what's been going on in your life since we met last time, usually once a month for an hour. And they just start sharing what's been going on, and then we are listening. It kind of sounds different from what I was hearing 3 months ago. I'm hearing some change here. And they'll say, I thought so, but no one else said that to me. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't think of it that way. It just because we don't meet that frequently, unlike in therapy and counseling that all have a great place to play, ours is less frequent. And I think then we can see that movement perhaps little more easily. Great question. Is there a risk of dependency on the spiritual director from the directee or client? I wonder, friends, any thoughts on this question?
Laura, I'll respond to that. Our goal as directors, generally speaking, is to help you with the connection to God. And so we are seeking to help that be the dependency, listening and responding to the movement of God in your life. And because spiritual direction tends to be, it's funny that it's called spiritual direction, and it tends to be, we want it to be not directional. We want it to be your agenda, your, what are the stories that are most prevalent. Usually when I start with someone, I'll give them a minute to get quiet, and then I'll ask them, what is most present in your spirit? I call that the red dot. What's your red dot? And, but they go anywhere they want, and it's not about me ever. It's about them and their walk with God. I hope that's helpful.
That's great. Any other thoughts from the panel on that question? Yeah. It's humbling when you sit with them for that hour and they come out saying, I feel better. And I was like, first do no harm is always my goal. I'm so grateful. Do you want to come back next time? So that might be a question too, is, okay, how does this thing work? Am I signing up for life? No. And I've heard this, Teresa is actually my spiritual director for the last couple of years. And she's got this great phrase, some people come for a reason, some for a season, some for a lifetime. So we come, we meet. Do you want to come back? I hope you do. Great. Let's get on the calendar for next time. And I love that point, Diane, homework. Some of my folks want it, love it, but it doesn't mean you got to come back next time and report back to teacher.
Right.
Sometimes I'll get a text from somebody, oh my gosh, this is really hard, or, oh, this is amazing, whatever. And I'll just give a little heart to it. One of my clients said, Laura, I know, I'm just letting you know I'm doing this because I want to share it with somebody, but I don't expect you to respond. So it's just this person in their lives who is there to encourage and affirm, pray for them. So it's a unique relationship to any other role that people tend to talk about. Any other questions? Monica, has there been anything else? I think you've been fielding everything for us so well. I think, I think we've probably covered it. Is there anything else anyone from the panel that you thought, gosh, I want to mention that? I'm going to give you that moment here to do that. All right. Well, we are very grateful to the beloved to get us through this. A lot of content in less than an hour. I mean, it's, yeah, the miraculous for sure. So I would like to end with a little prayer that I pretty much pray with all my beloved clients, and it's out of the New Testament. And so I am just going to lift this up as a prayer. So if you want to close your eyes and receive this blessing. And so now to you who is willing and able to do far more than we could ever ask or imagine. To you be glory now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
And panelists, friends, I'm so grateful you were here tonight with us. This was just a great gift to me, and I'm sure to so many others. So thank you again. Final reminder, we have been recording this. We have the handout. We'll have some other extra little links to websites that we might have brought up and mentioned here tonight. So watch for that in the coming days. And we just bless you and release you tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night. Loved meeting you.